So anyone who knows my dad knows that he's a combination of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and Nat Turner all rolled up into one. And so my sister and I had an upbringing that nowadays you would call woke. In other words, we understood the relation between race, religion, politics, and many other things as it involved our daily lives as African Americans. One day, I got a lesson from my dad that I didn't expect, and I'll tell you how that went. So I grew up in a pretty diverse neighborhood, lots of different cultures, not many white kids, but enough that you would still call it diverse. One of the white kids in my neighborhood was a kid named David, and David was my friend. I actually considered him a very good friend. So one day we were walking home, and as happens a lot, a group of kids got together, formed a circle. They started snapping on each other, or in those days we called it bagging on each other. So in other words, they started trading insults. And the neighborhood where I was from, still mostly black, was your mother so fat, your mother so black, so on and so forth. Now, when the black kids got tired of insulting each other, they turned to David. And a better way to put that is that they didn't turn to David, they turned on David. And so the jokes went from your mama so fat, your mama so black, which I know is politically incorrect, but that's the way it was in those days. It went from your mama so fat and your mama so black to David so white. Okay, and David took it. You know, he took it in stride. He tried to have a good sense of humor about it. And that's to his credit. But at the same time, what else could he do? You know, David was in a culture that wasn't his own. And even though they could say the most terrible and hurtful things to him, the most terrible and hurtful things that he could say back to these kids were things that he wasn't allowed to say. So David couldn't say, you're so black. And as the only white kid in that group, David definitely couldn't use the N-word. So he had to stand there and take it, but he did. And, you know, after that was over, it seemed like it lasted forever, but it really only lasted a few minutes. And after it was over, we all picked up our books, went home, and it was no big deal. Just another day in the neighborhood, right? So my dad gets home, and in typical fashion, he asks, you know, how was your day? And usually I wouldn't talk about it because this is something that happens every day. But that day, I guess I felt compelled to tell him what happened. And so I told him how, you know, the kids got together and they were talking about David, kind of teasing him because he was white or whatever. And I said, Dad, but I want you to know, I was there, but I did not participate in the name calling. I didn't do what the other kids were doing. Now, I thought my dad would give me a pat on the back and say, you know, good job, son. You know, I raised you to respect all people, and I'm glad you didn't participate in that. Good job. Or I expected him, being, you know, the revolutionary that he was, I expected him to say something like, you know, no big deal. At any rate, what my dad said surprised me nonetheless. He got real serious. And he asked me two questions that shook me. The first question he asked me was, is David your friend? I didn't have to think about that at all. David was my friend. Yes, he's my friend. Second question my dad asked me was, if he's your friend, what were you doing while all of the other kids were making fun of David? The car came to a halt. Skirt, bam! And I immediately understood what my dad was trying to say. He was trying to say, and then basically he said it. He said, either number one, you're not a very good friend, or number two, if you call David your friend and you're standing around doing nothing while other kids are insulting him, berating him, bullying him, and attacking him, if you call yourself a friend while other people are doing that to him, you're just as bad as the people that attacked him. So he said, here's what you're going to do. you're going to walk out of the door. You're going to go around the corner and up the hill and apologize to David and his dad, not for not participating in it, that's not a crime, but for not standing up for your friend. Well, I said, okay, I knew I had to do it, but Dad, it's 5:30, it's getting dark, let's handle this tomorrow. When I see David at school, I'll apologize to him. He's like, no, you're going to walk out the door and do it now. And as a matter of fact, don't come back into this house until you do. Yes, sir. Walked out of the house, around the corner, up the hill. When I got to David's house, his dad was outside watering the grass. And when he looked up and saw me, he just kind of smiled and was like, hey, Chris, your dad told me you were coming. I didn't even know David's dad and my dad knew each other, but, the world is a small place, a little small town. I had that talk with David and his dad, and I apologized to both of them for what I didn't do, for not standing up for my friend. And that was a lesson in life that I will never forget, because I'm a black kid who grew up in a mostly black town, and my black father taught me that if you call someone a friend, that regardless of their race, color, religion, whatever they stand for or were born, you got to stand up for them. You don't let your friends come under attack and stand there and do nothing. So what I want you to take away from this is that if a black kid growing up in a black town with a black dad can get that lesson, you as a white person or other can talk to your children and give them the same lesson. The lesson is this: it's not enough that you don't see color. It's not enough that you're quote unquote colorblind or post-racial. It's not enough that your children are biracial, or that your best friend is black, or that you listen to rap music, or that your family looks like a United Nations. It's not enough. Because if you have biracial children and listen to hip hop and your best friend is black, but you stand by while those very people are being attacked by this world because of no other reason than the color of their skin, you're either not a very good friend or you're just as bad as the people that are attacking them. So if a black person is your friend, why do you stay silent when the police shoot an unarmed black person? Why do you stay silent when black children or black girls go missing? Why do you stay silent? You're either not a very good friend or you're just as bad as the people that are attacking those that you call friends and those that you see as colorblind. And so I think about my dad, and I don't think he was trying to give me a big speech or lesson about race and religion when he taught me that years ago. I simply think he was showing me how you treat people that you love, that you respect, that are human beings, and those that you call friends. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm Chris Petit, simply speaking.